Discover the incredible hidden truths of all 12 astrology signs that will transform your life. Rain drummed against the attic roof as Sarah meticulously sorted through dusty old boxes, each item a ghost from her grandmother's past. A lifeless light bulb flickered overhead, casting shadows that danced across the room, hiding treasures and burdens alike. Her heart raced, not from the musty air that cloaked her, but from the heavy burdens she wore daily as a single mother struggling to make ends meet. The universe often felt chaotic, much like her life. Just that morning, she sprinted to the diner after Jamie's soccer practice, her mind tangled with thoughts of bills overdue and rent looming, a cycle that crushed her spirit. In the corner, an old book caught her eye, its cover worn and faded. Astrology, the Forgotten Studies of the Stars, it read. Sarah hesitated, her fingers hovering above the dusty pages. Could this book hold anything useful for someone like her, a waitress on the edge of desperation, burdened by self-doubt? As she opened it, her breath quickened. Handwritten notes filled the margins, her grandmother's elegant cursive intertwining with astrological symbols. It felt serendipitous, as if the universe had sent her a breadcrumb of hope, yet, guilt gnawed at her. Wasn't she just a waitress? A single mother caught in a cycle of working for tips and scraping by, hoping for a miracle. Friends from high school would scoff if they saw her pouring coffee, and with every shift, Sarah felt the weight of their expectations pressing down on her shoulders. They lived in tidy houses with manicured lawns, and here she was, worried about paying bills and feeding Jamie. A faint ache tugged at her heart. Was she doomed to repeat the pattern of her family, a legacy of struggling women? As the rain pattered and the shadows lengthened, she wrestled with her thoughts. What good would astrology do for her? She closed her eyes, imagining the faces of her ambitions fading as quickly as smoke. Suddenly, a sharp rap on the attic door startled her. It was Mrs. Thompson, her elderly neighbor, with a warm smile and an eager sparkle in her eyes. While Sarah feared judgment, Mrs. Thompson exuded kindness, and the older woman's passion for astrology blossomed in every conversation they had shared. "Darling, I heard you found that book." Mrs. Thompson beamed, settling beside her. "It holds secrets, you know, about resilience, strength. You have the makings of a true astrologer." A flicker of excitement ignited inside Sarah, but so did the old doubts. Could she truly break free from the life she had? Before they could delve deeper into astrological wonders, Sarah's phone buzzed on the attic floor, an alert about a community gathering at the local school that evening. They would discuss a scholarship program for students, a possible route for Jamie. Her heart fluttered between hope and dread. Would it be just another gathering of judgment? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let us continue. That night, Sarah sat in the school gym, Jamie's small hand wrapped tightly in hers. As conversations swirled about merit versus privilege, each argument pressed against her chest like a weight she could hardly bear. She wanted to expose her family's struggles, to fight for Jamie's future, but fear rooted her to the floor. The room buzzed with hopes and dreams, yet her voice felt silenced, locked away like the old book in her attic. As the principal opened the floor for comments, tension coiled inside her. Would she now dismiss her dreams to shield herself from judgment, or would she pluck a strength first discovered in her grandmother's notes? Around her, the atmosphere shifted as eyes turned expectantly toward her. In that endless moment, nothing was more vital. How long could she hide? The unsettled past followed her like a storm cloud, dark and unyielding. But as she glanced at Jamie's hopeful face, a swell of determination rose within her. Would she abandon the stars, or would she embrace what they might reveal about her own life, and the legacy she could still forge? The weight of the room pressed harder against her. Tonight felt pivotal. She inhaled deeply, the air thick with urgency and expectation. The murmurs of the audience around her faded, becoming a distant hum as she focused on the burning question in her chest. Did she really want to remain a spectator in her life, forever tiptoeing past her dreams? Or was it time to step into the light, to claim a voice that had been silenced for far too long? "Excuse me," she said suddenly, her voice breaking through the noise, surprising even herself with its intensity. Heads turned, curiosity stirring in the room. Sarah's heart raced as she felt the weight of their attention, but it felt different now, less like a burden and more like a challenge. "I just want to say." Her mind wrestled for the words, but she anchored herself with a vivid image from her grandmother's handwritten notes, the inked symbols of strength and resilience. "I know what it's like to struggle. I work every day, often feeling hopeless, just trying to give my son a better future. But I believe that we can shape our destinies, and every one of us deserves a chance, regardless of our circumstances." Silence enveloped her, a pause that felt like a chasm. But then a wave of murmured agreement rippled through the crowd. She glanced at Jamie, who beamed with pride, and that spark of connection revitalized her. "I found this book," she continued, her fingers brushing the thin edges of the knowledge tucked away in her attic. "It speaks of the zodiac, yes, but it's more than just horoscopes. It's about understanding ourselves, harnessing our strengths, and recognizing the power we each have within." Her voice grew steadier, empowered by the energy around her. "We all have hidden gifts, and using them could open doors for ourselves and our families. We are not defined by our past or our financial struggles. We have the potential to become who we wish to be." As her statement settled into the collective consciousness of the room, Sarah felt a warmth ignite within her. An uncomfortable truth blossomed: she had a voice, and it mattered. But as she continued, adrenaline surged through her, mixing excitement with fear. What if she couldn't uphold this newfound strength? Doubt nestled in its familiar spot, whispering reminders of failure, echoing her past of hesitance. The frayed threads of her confidence wavered, confronting the reality that standing up would require more than just words. Would anyone truly believe her? For a fleeting moment, the anxious thoughts froze her in place. Then, from the back of the gym, Mrs. Thompson's encouraging nod broke through, reminding her of the unwavering support that existed. Sarah took a breath, channeling the warmth of shared struggles. "I believe that by working together, by investing side by side, we can build opportunities instead of walls. We owe it to our children to bridge these divides." Each word she uttered transformed her self-doubt into conviction fueled by hope. The scholarship is only a start, but it's a necessary step toward transforming futures. A ripple of applause emerged, and Sarah leaned into the newfound momentum. Perhaps she could harness the wisdom from the stars. What if she took the leap to share what she had unearthed? If the study of astrology could unlock the understanding and potential in herself, could it not serve as a tool for others as well? As the evening progressed, she felt the anticipation of connection swell within her. The possibility of opening a pathway to guide others through their struggles felt intoxicating, yet daunting. She had a responsibility not only to Jamie but to the story she would now begin to write, both personally and in the community. Then a thought crashed in, a burgeoning challenge. How would she balance her dreams with the relentless demands of her current life? The clock ticked relentlessly, a reminder of her responsibilities looming ever closer, and as the last of the gathering dispersed, uncertainty swirled through her mind. Standing there, amid the fading excitement of the evening, Sarah understood that an arduous journey lay ahead, one that would require grit, sacrifice, and the true discovery of herself. The stars and their lessons were just beginning to take shape in her life, and she would need to confront not only her past but her deepest fears. With a renewed commitment burning bright, she whispered to herself, "Tomorrow, I'll dive into those pages." As she felt the weight shift within her, she pondered the unanswered question: would astrology truly reveal the path to her transformation, or would it unearth more than she bargained for? Dawn broke gently through the curtains, casting warm patterns of light across Sarah's cluttered kitchen table. Her grandmother's notebook lay open next to a steaming cup of coffee, the pages weighed down by the very urgency that enveloped her the night before. She declared intentions and envisioned change, but now the exhilaration felt distant, threatened by the mundane demands of life awaiting her. As she read through her grandmother's notes again, she felt a flicker of inspiration. There were not just personal anecdotes, but profound reflections on the zodiac signs. Each entry resonated, speaking to deeper aspirations she had neglected. Aries reminded her of bravery, Taurus represented persistence. All the signs seemed to whisper urgent truths waiting to be unearthed. With every passage she examined, her resolve crystallized further. Determined, Sarah set her sights on a plan. What if she transformed the teachings of astrology into workshops for her community, offering people tools for understanding themselves? The sun god wanted to tap into that hidden potential she had spoken of, yet, as she drafted her ideas, a shadow of doubt surfaced. Who would truly care about the zodiac? Did she possess the credibility to stand as an authority on the subject? There was also Jamie to consider. His needs were immediate. The tension between nurturing her passions and fulfilling her responsibilities felt palpable. The weight of her ambition constrained her. Still, she pushed through the morning fog, scheduling time for research. The nearby library became her sanctuary. Rows of dusty books awaited her eager hands. Each resource she uncovered illuminated concepts: how the stars could guide decisions, how they influenced moods and relationships. But then, amidst the swirl of ideas and her newfound enthusiasm, fate nudged her toward a surprise encounter. One afternoon, while flipping through a book on astrology, she ran into Mrs. Thompson, the very woman whose encouragement had bolstered Sarah's initial speech. The older woman's eyes lit up when she recognized Sarah. "Hi there. I caught your speech last night, and it's been on my mind ever since," she said, leaning in with genuine interest. "I never knew you had such a passion for astrology. Have you thought about expanding on that?" Sarah's heart raced with both excitement and trepidation. I want to, but I don't know if I can do it right. I have a lot on my plate as it is." Mrs. Thompson simply smiled. "You know, Sarah, it's often our deepest uncertainties that lead to our most profound growth. What matters is taking that first step." Wise words settled in Sarah's heart. She found herself contemplating everything: the potential workshops, a way to intertwine astrology with the personal struggles she and others faced. What if families learned to tap into their strengths through this lens? As they discussed ideas, Sarah found her confidence rekindled, and she envisioned a community group focused on discovery and support. Embracing the concept felt exhilarating, but alarm bells echoed in the back of her mind. What would her peers think? Would they welcome astrology as a guiding tool, or dismiss it? Even more frightening was the prospect of failure, of starting something that might not gain traction. When she returned home that evening, a decision loomed heavily. Should she take the plunge and risk her carefully constructed life for something nebulous? That night, as she starlit her bedroom, she couldn't ignore the spark of hope ignited within. Each astrological sign carried latent power not just for individuals but for families. With a tentative breath, she resolved to act. She would organize a small gathering, nothing formal, just a few familiar faces. To share stories, insights, and perhaps her grandmother's teachings, blending them into her vision of empowerment through astrology. Yet, amidst the burgeoning excitement lay a before unknown trepidation. Who was she to lead this charge? Was she really equipped to handle such a challenge? In that moment of clarity and confusion, she grasped a truth: the fight against doubt was innate to growth. Acceptance of fear became essential for her journey forward. Yet she knew, without a doubt, that the first step was crucial, and so, Sarah began sketching her community gathering, the moonlight cascading through the window, whispering promises of change. But in the back of her mind, a new question emerged, cloaked in possibility: would reaching out for connection ignite embers of passion in others, or expose her own vulnerabilities too deeply? The day arrived beneath an overcast sky, mirroring Sarah's internal wrestling as she prepared for her gathering. Anxiety snarled in her stomach, tangling with determination. This wasn't merely a meeting, it was a declaration of purpose, an extension of her voice beyond the cluttered walls of her kitchen. She stood in front of the mirror, adjusting the fabric of her favorite blouse, grounding herself with a mantra: I am enough, my voice matters. Her small living room had been transformed into a makeshift space of exploration. The one-dimensional functionality of her home felt stifling, yet she decorated its corners with intentionality crystals from the local shop, her grandmother's notebook cradled on the table, fragrant candles flickering softly. Each detail represented the journey she was embarking upon, a testament to her courage to share something deeply personal. As the hour neared, her thoughts darted between ideas, fears, and excitement. What if this effort was met with skepticism? What if she faltered while speaking? Yet a glimmer of hope punctuated her trepidation. There were friends who expressed genuine curiosity, who believed in her vision, and who might find solace in these teachings. When the doorbell rang, Sarah's heart raced. She opened the door to find Jamie, her younger brother, standing there with his unmistakable, roguish smile along with two of her closest friends. Their presence radiated warmth. Each friend greeted her with encouraging words, seemingly dispelling some of the self-imposed doubt that lingered. It was just them. There was no grand stage, no audience to validate or invalidate her intentions. As she settled them around a circle, nerves intertwining with excitement, she realized this gathering wasn't just about sharing astrology, it was about connection. The essence of who they were, stories, experiences, and struggles would be interwoven with the astrological insights she had recently embraced. Diving into her grandmother's legacy, those layered messages within astrology, Sarah felt transformation beginning to take shape. She spoke about each sign, blending humor and personal anecdotes, inviting laughter and reflection. Virgos, she mentioned playfully, might be perfectionists, but they are also the best problem solvers. As the discussion deepened, something remarkable occurred. Her friends began to share their own stories, claiming their space within the circle. The conversations turned more personal, revealing hidden fears and dreams that paralleled the traits associated with their signs. It was cathartic. Sarah's apprehensions fell away, piece by piece, replaced by a powerful realization: creating this space was about fostering vulnerability and authenticity. With every story exchanged, Sarah sensed a permeating magic enveloping the room. It ignited something precious within her. She was not merely a facilitator. She was a guide, bringing out truths hidden beneath the surface, producing insights that held the power to transform perspectives. But within this wave of success, lurking like a shadow, was an undeniable voice of doubt. If this felt so liberating, what would come next? Could she sustain this momentum? Was she ready to engage with people beyond her circle? As they prepared to wrap up, Jamie leaned forward, reminding her with a grin, "You're on to something big here, Sarah. This should not be a one-and-done thing." His affirmation ignited a sense of urgency within her, awakening the realization that she must expand this endeavor. Despite the looming uncertainty. As each friend departed, they left bright embers of hope hanging in the air. Sarah closed the door behind them, breath steadied but questions swirling. It was time to evolve, to take this gathering and the energy it created into a larger arena. But could she manage the weight of that responsibility? In the quiet aftermath, she found herself staring at the now flickering candles that mirrored her flickering resolve. What would it take to push through the boundaries she had set for herself? Could she facilitate conversations on a larger scale? The dawn of a new challenge was creeping in, clashing with the haunting echo of self-doubt. But one truth lingered intensely: she was ready to discover just how far this journey could take her. And as she sat down to sketch out new ideas, the hushed question reverberated in her thoughts: what would it mean to step into the unknown with both fear and fearlessness at her side? The next morning dawned softly, with light filtering through the curtains, casting a warm hue against the dim remnants of last night's uncertainty. Sarah shuffled into the kitchen, brewing a pot of coffee, the rich aroma filling her senses, grounding her once again in the possibilities ahead. She inhaled deeply, the caffeine buzzing through her with every sip, awakening a sense of determination which had slipped away with the flickering candles the night before. Her desk, cluttered with notes and reflections, beckoned for attention. She took a seat, her fingers poised over the paper, ready to assemble a vision that could convert last night's intimate circle into something larger. However, the thrill of crafting an expanded gathering was quickly undercut by a wave of anxiety. What would it take to transform her cozy discussions into a workshop that drew in unfamiliar faces? As Sarah considered the concept of sharing this knowledge more broadly, her mind raced with a mixture of hope and doubt. She realized this was not simply about astrology, it was about helping people connect the dots of their lives to the cosmos, revealing patterns they had been blind to. Yet, the specter of her inexperience loomed large. Would others resonate with her interpretations? She pushed back against the self-doubt and opened her grandmother's notebook, running her fingers across the worn pages filled with notes and teachings. Each scrawl felt like a handshake with her past, a connection to the wisdom that had long been brewing within her. Sarah began jotting down potential strategies, forcing herself to envision what a larger gathering could look like. She wrote fiercely, suppressing her internal critic, letting creativity flow. With every stroke of the pen, she unearthed new perspectives, themed workshops tackling not only astrology but personal growth, perhaps even inviting local speakers who could enrich discussions. This wasn't merely about her voice, it was about cultivating a community of seekers. A ping broke her concentration, a message on her phone from Jamie, checking in. She hesitated before responding, knowing he would encourage her bold ambitions. What if he saw her doubts reflected in his own support? Yet, sharing her thoughts was crucial. With a deep breath, she texted back, detailing her ideas for the expansion and asking for his thoughts. As her phone buzzed back with an enthusiastic reply, excitement twined with anxiety. Jamie was more than just supportive, he was a sounding board, someone to spark inspiration. They made plans for him to come over later, and Sarah's heart raced with anticipation. But as the afternoon approached, her pulse quickened anew with the realization that vulnerability was essential. To be authentic, she must confront her fear of inadequacy. She needed to connect with potential participants in a genuine way, touching upon the rawness of their lives and the transformative potential of astrology. As she pondered, Sarah scribbled another note: what stories will they bring? What connections will form? How will new voices illuminate the cosmos? These thoughts spiraled around her mind. Each question heightened her awareness of what lay ahead: the complexity of emotions, the challenge of blending these unique stories into a cohesive narrative of astrology and personal growth. Just as she began to feel that the puzzle pieces were aligning, self-doubt dogged her once more. What if no one showed up? What if she stumbled while guiding discussions? The fear was paralyzing yet oddly motivating. It forced her to confront how much she was willing to risk for this dream. With newfound resolve, Sarah closed the notebook and prepared to head out to the local cafe, a place where she could observe and perhaps interact with strangers. There was a latent anticipation within her, emerging from the depths of her spirit, ready to confront uncertainty, ready to weave the fabric of her teachings into a broader context. As she walked down the street amidst the bustle of daily life, a lingering question echoed with purpose: what if? This was just the start of navigating her own stars, intertwining her journey with those of others. Would she be courageous enough to spark dialogues that could alter life paths? Her heart raced as she felt the initial threads of a new chapter forming. The veil of familiarity began to lift, teasing an expansive horizon ahead. Yet, a deeper question loomed in the background: was she prepared for the reactions, the truths, the connections that awaited her beyond her self-imposed limits? The light from the cafe's window cast a golden hue on Sarah's notebook as she settled into a corner table, her heart still racing from the anticipation of what lay ahead. The chatter around her melded into a comforting hum, and amidst the rich scent of espresso, her focus sharpened. She sipped her coffee, feeling the warmth seep into her, calming her anxious mind. Yet, beneath this tranquility lurked the relentless echo of doubts. What if she didn't belong here? What if her vision fell flat? Sarah opened the notebook to a fresh page, ready to capture fleeting thoughts as they flitted through her mind. Her plan had to take shape, and that meant she needed to truly understand the individual she aimed to draw in. What experiences would resonate with them? Her grandmother's teachings came flooding back, anchoring her sense of purpose. It was more than a workshop, it was the promise of transformation. Noticing a group of women seated nearby, laughing and engaging animatedly, she felt that familiar stab of longing. The idea of interaction made her heartbeat quicken. What would it take to break the ice? Could her methods of astrology serve as a bridge to connect her story with theirs, or vice versa? Every second of hesitation felt like a missed opportunity. Her thoughts spiraled as she recalled the key elements she wanted to explore: heartbreak, joy, fear, and rekindled hope. Each person's narrative could weave into her workshops, creating a tapestry rich in diversity. The reality struck her: she wasn't merely a facilitator. She was a conduit, a medium through which others could discover their own arcs of growth. With deep breaths, she forced a smile and leaned towards the group. "Excuse me," she began, her voice barely above the din. "Have you ever felt like the universe has nudged you towards certain choices in your life?" The initial silence felt heavy, and her gut twisted as she awaited their response. But soon, one of the women looked up, curiosity sparkling in her eyes. "Like signs from the universe, you mean?" "Yes, precisely," Sarah replied, emboldened by their interest. They exchanged stories: the significance of a butterfly seen at a pivotal moment, a text from a long-lost friend that resurrected memories of joy. Each tale opened up Sarah's understanding of how deeply interconnected people's experiences were with the energy around them. The conversation flowed wildly, lassos of laughter and surprise intertwined. Throughout it all, Sarah recognized something profound: they were tapping into a pulse of shared experiences, revealing how each faced their own uncertainties. For the first time, it began to dawn on her that maybe her insecurities were part of this shared human thread too. As their dialogue progressed, an urge to share her own vulnerabilities began bubbling within her. Yet, she held back, questioning whether her struggles would diminish the potency of their narratives. Did her story hold weight? Could it illuminate their journeys? Just as the coffee shop's atmosphere thickened with camaraderie, tension snaked through Sarah. A realization hit her: authenticity might demand more than just sharing astrological insights. To truly connect, she would need to expose her weaknesses, the very fabric of her own development. Summoning her courage, she decided to share her mission, how the lessons from her grandmother had guided her path. "I believe it's essential that we gather stories, tales of growth and transformation." Her voice trembled slightly. "It's not just about astrology for me, it's about healing and understanding." The women nodded, intrigued, their reactions igniting a flicker of hope within Sarah. Maybe vulnerability could indeed be a strength, a means of disarming barriers. But as the conversation veered toward deeper topics, a looming doubt still crept in. Would her truth resonate? As the group began to close up their chatter, parting ways with newfound connections, Sarah felt a strange blend of excitement and fear. She had glimpsed the potential for her workshops, yet the shadows of self-doubt lingered, urgently demanding recognition. With her notebook filled with scribbles and her heart opened wider than before, Sarah left the cafe, reflecting on her next steps. Would she be brave enough to organize her ideas, transform her vision into a gathering, and present her story alongside those of others? Eager for the next chapter but equally apprehensive, she encountered her reflection in a window, a woman on the brink of her own awakening. One question unfolded: as she cast her nets to gather others' stories, could she truly navigate her own? The sunlight of the afternoon cast a warm glow as Sarah meandered through the park, her mind racing with possibilities. Each step felt like a challenge to her resolve, a way to confront the doubts biting at her heels. She paused on a bench, the rhythmic rustling of leaves above serving as a backdrop to her introspection. Ideas crystallized in her mind, the energy from the cafe conversation still buzzing within her. Yet, she felt the pressure of execution weighing heavily on her. How could she translate this spark of connection into an event that would truly matter? Bits and pieces of strategies began to form, a framework, a series of workshops interwoven with guided discussions, something that could accommodate the spectrum of narratives she had just encountered. As she sat, Sarah flipped open her notebook again, scribbling furiously as if her pen could outpace her thoughts. It wasn't just about astrology, it was about emerging transformations. Hooking one's personal experiences into the larger themes of life, how friendships evolve, how losses spur growth. These would frame her content. These insights felt like stepping stones toward her goal, but the daunting fear of inadequacy kept creeping back. Would others see the value she believed was inherent in these shared stories? Conversely, was her own voice strong enough to lead? The questions felt suffocating at times, her confidence felt fragile against the weight of self-judgment that in between sketches and outlines, she caught sight of a couple nearby, their laughter spilling into the air. It reminded her of the earlier group their connection sparked just by sharing experiences. She began to wonder, perhaps enrollments for her workshops could be more about forging relations than merely filling a room. Potential attendees might be seeking community as much as insight. Suddenly, a mental block fell away, followed by another jolt of determination. If she framed her workshops as spaces for bonding, rather than isolated presentations of knowledge, she might fulfill that innate desire for connection. The idea transformed into hopeful energy. She could create an environment where individuals transformed not only through their own stories but by the stories of those around them. But before she could totally embrace this inspiration, the shadow of self-doubt whispered reminders of her past failures. Public speaking had always been elusive, and now she was considering not only presenting but facilitating deeper emotional conversations. What if she faltered? Her thoughts spiraled. Moments from her past danced in her mind, stumbling over words in front of a large audience, feeling the eyes of critics, the cold sweat that accompanied her vulnerability. How could she possibly forge this new path when the past still haunted her? Yet, deep down, another voice began to emerge, the one that reminded her of the women from the cafe. Each had faced their own vulnerabilities, yet they shared openly. If they could be brave in that moment, surely, she could summon courage as well. Wasn't she already gathering strength from their shared stories? Sarah closed her eyes and took a long, deep breath. It was time to confront that lingering fear. She would have to push past it, if only to discover new horizons for herself and those she aimed to support. Emotional transparency was the bridge that could connect her with her audience, and through it, she could reclaim ownership of her narrative. With her resolve slowly boiling to the surface, another question gripped her: how could she practice this newfound approach? Would it be enough to draft a guest list solely comprised of acquaintances, or should she dive deeper, inviting those she had yet to connect with? The park was alive around her, but she was focused, imagining her workshops filled with stories swirling in an ethereal dance. What if she embraced her discomfort as part of the journey? Sitting up straighter, Sarah felt a spark of clarity. Could she arrange smaller gathering circles to rehearse her approach? That would guide her, and if it went well, she might scale it up. As she stood, a sense of purpose welled within her, bolstered by the relationships she had yet to cultivate. Each potential story, each voice could contribute to this transformative experience. Yet, beneath that new determination, the fear throbbed deeper, tugging at her resolve. What if she stepped into those circles and lost the very essence of what she aimed to create? What if, in striving for connection, she created disarray instead of harmony? Embarking on this journey felt monumental, the stakes increasingly clear. Sarah took a final deep breath, her heart racing not just from fear but from the thrill of transformation. The next move wasn't just about organizing, it was about conquering the chaos within her. Unearthed possibilities stretched before her like an unfolding sky. Yet, the shadows loomed just out of sight, whispering the weight of impending decisions. Where would this new path lead, and would she have the grit to follow through? Setting off with newfound focus and excitement, the time had come for her to face her greatest test. Was she truly capable of guiding others through their layers of transformation, even as she grappled with her own? As Sarah left the park, a renewed sense of motivation coursed through her. The path ahead was precarious, yet invigorating. Each idea she had sketched on paper blurred with the imagery of her aspirations. Turning onto the familiar road of her neighborhood, she felt the energy of her surroundings change. The setting sun cast a golden hue, illuminating her determination. It wasn't just about planning workshops anymore, it was about walking the tightrope of her fears and aspirations. The moment she stepped inside her apartment, her cluttered space reflected her inner turmoil. The faded couch, the stacked books that danced on the edge of disorder, all echoed the chaos in her mind. She sank into the couch, the weight of her ambitions pressing down. For a moment, doubt crept back, taunting her with recent memories of past failures. She considered the many times she had envisioned a grand idea, only for it to unravel when faced with execution, but as doubt whispered its seductive lies, another force stirred within her a burgeoning defiance to succeed against the creeping despair. She reached for her notebook, the pages still vibrant with hastily written thoughts and strategies grounded in authenticity. This was her blueprint, her call to action. Shifting her focus from fear to possibility, she jotted down the idea of the smaller circles again. Leading these gatherings could refine her skills and bolster her confidence. Could she approach a few friends, perhaps even reach out to people she'd known only in passing? Each name fluttered through her mind like petals in the wind, mixing apprehension with excitement. Inviting new faces would scrutinize her construction, exposing her vulnerabilities. Wasn't he that the essence of what she wished to build? The sound of her phone vibrating tore through her thoughts. It was a message from Emily, a friend who had attended the cafe gathering. "Hey! Have you thought more about what you'll do next? Let's chat." An odd combination of relief and anxiety washed over her. Emily was someone who would understand the struggle. Bracing herself, Sarah typed back, "Sure. Want to meet at the cafe?" As she awaited Emily's response, Sarah stepped into the kitchen, her body woven with tension. Water for tea boiled on the stove, and she rummaged through a drawer to pull out her favorite mug. The mundane routine was oddly grounding, a moment where she could gather her jumbled thoughts. The phone chimed again. "Perfect. I'm free tomorrow at 2. Excitement bubbled within her, laced with apprehension about what their conversation might reveal. It was one thing to believe in her concept, it was something entirely different to seek outside validation. Could sharing her vision and potential weaknesses be what she needed to step forward? With her tea in hand, she settled back onto the couch, her eyes wandering to the window. She could see neighbors walking their dogs, children playing under the watchful eyes of parents. Each interaction was a subtle reminder of human connection, of the subtleties that she aimed to navigate through her workshops. Those connections needed nurturing, facilitating a safe space where not just her voice but also those of others could flourish. How could she blend her vision with her imperfect understanding of group dynamics? The shadows of uncertainty lingered, yet a growing excitement ignited within her. These circles weren't merely rehearsals, they were mini-experiment spaces filled with the rawness of real story sharing. She could feel her confidence shift as she imagined tomorrow's meeting. Perhaps Emily would offer insights, or even help her brainstorm attendees. Would this deepen her own revelations about her role in fostering transformations? That thought trembled on the edge of affirmation. If she could inspire others through her stories, maybe they could inspire her in turn. But amidst that hope lay the haunting fear of judgment. What if she risked her essence too openly and it shattered upon scrutiny? The night deepened around her as she prepared for bed, sleek shadows merging with her thoughts. Parsing through the tumult of emotions, she realized something fundamental. In leading with authenticity, she might ignite real transformation not only in others, but within herself. As she slid beneath the covers, Sarah recognized the monumental choice ahead. Tomorrow's meeting with Emily promised to unveil dimensions of her aspirations that she had yet to confront directly. What if clarity arrived through dialogue? What if vulnerability bred solidarity? The questions danced in her mind like fireflies igniting a deep longing for connection. With a mixture of eagerness and trepidation, she drifted off to sleep, knowing that the moment of truth would soon arrive. Would she emerge stronger, or would the shadows of her past continue to haunt her as she stepped into the light? The morning sun spilled through the curtains, warming Sarah's face and nudging her from sleep. For a fleeting moment, excitement eclipsed her usual skepticism. Today held promise. As she stretched and shook off the remnants of slumber, her mind raced through the possibilities of her forthcoming conversation with Emily. Determination surged within her. She couldn't let fleeting doubts dictate the outcomes she wanted to create. After a quick breakfast, Sarah caught a glimpse of herself in the mirror. The reflection showed signs of insecurity, disheveled hair and lingering shadows under her eyes, but also hints of resolve. She pulled her hair into a neat ponytail, choosing simplicity to echo her intention to be straightforward today. Everything felt burdensome yet exhilarating, as if she were teetering on the edge of a precipice, ready to leap into a new chapter of her life. Arriving at the cafe, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee filled her lungs. It was a warm embrace, a temporary cocoon that wrapped around her nervous energy. Sarah found a seat near the back, her pulse quickening as she anxiously tapped her foot. She glanced at her notebook, a collection of dreams and uncertainties that now felt heavier than usual. What insights could she glean? What breakthroughs might Emily help her uncover if she could only muster the courage to voice her aspirations clearly? Emily arrived moments later, her vibrant energy contrasted with Sarah's shadowy self-doubt. Greeting her with a warm hug, Emily's presence felt like a safe harbor amid tumultuous waters. They settled in with steaming mugs. Sarah opted for herbal tea, a soothing balm for her nerves. "So, tell me what's been on your mind," Emily encouraged, leaning forward with genuine interest. Here it was, the moment Sarah had been anticipating. It stirred something inside her, a mixture of fear and hope. "I've been thinking about starting these smaller gatherings, circles to share experiences and ideas," she began, her voice wavering slightly. The words spilled from her mouth as if they had been trapped in the confines of her heart, desperate to breathe. "That sounds incredible. What would you want them to look like?" Emily prompted, her enthusiasm lighting a fire under Sarah's resolve. Pushing past her initial hesitation, Sarah described her vision: spaces where storytelling and vulnerability coalesce into growth. She detailed the importance of genuine connection and the nurturing of diverse voices, elaborating on her fears of judgment and failure. Each revelation felt like peeling layers off an onion, exposing parts of herself she had kept hidden. Emily listened intently, offering feedback that oscillated between admiration and gentle critique. "It seems like you want to foster a supportive environment, but there's an underlying fear of how people will perceive you. What if instead of seeing vulnerabilities as a weakness, you framed them as strengths?" That thought clutched at Sarah's insides, a mix of recognition and unease. It planted a seed of awareness she had overlooked. How often had she wielded her fears like chains rather than as tools for connection? "I think I've been so focused on proving myself that I've forgotten to embrace imperfection," she admitted, her voice gaining strength. As they delved deeper into the conversation, Sarah uncovered more aspects of herself: her instinctual need for validation, her relentless pursuit of perfection. Each confession lightened her burden, transforming uncertainties into stepping stones for growth. The concept of imperfection as a strength began to resonate, echoing through her mind, but amidst the clarity, another wave of insecurity crashed over her. What if she couldn't sustain this newfound perspective? What if the circles didn't achieve what she envisioned? Each question loomed, pushing her towards a precipice of vulnerability. By the end of their discussion, Sarah felt raw yet invigorated, as if she had exposed fractured parts of herself to the light. The air buzzed with possibility, almost tangible, yet the nagging anxiety clawed at her. Resolve. "I'm grateful for your insights, but what if I'm not enough?" she questioned, the fear issuing forth with surprising candor. Emily paused, searching for the right words. "You are enough, Sarah. Focus on your journey, not the perceptions of others. Sometimes, being enough means just showing up as you are." As they stood to leave, her heart thudded with a mix of gratitude and trepidation. Maybe this was the first step toward embracing who she truly was, imperfections and all. But doubt hovered as she walked to the door, its presence almost suffocating. Could she truly step into her own light, vulnerability intact, and forge ahead with her vision? Would she find the strength to lead, forging connections that transcended her fears? The questions intertwined in her mind as she navigated the bustling street, pushing her boundaries with each step. Today had illuminated pieces of truth she had long evaded. Yet, the path ahead remained shrouded in uncertainty, a map of potential waiting to be explored. But what awaited her next? Would the connections she craved build bridges or deepen rifts as she dared to share her unvarnished self? The following weeks accelerated Sarah's transformation from an uncertain waitress to an empowered leader intent on guiding her community through the ages-old wisdom of astrology. Each workshop she organized became a testament to her growth, the embodiment of her fears and aspirations intertwined. Even the earlier unease she felt about exposing her vulnerabilities now served as fertile soil for deeper connections. Her living room, once a cluttered space of isolation, had morphed into a vibrant environment alive with laughter, storytelling, and shared dreams. As more participants arrived, intrigued by the unconventional offering, a sense of belonging washed over her. Each circle felt electric as stories poured forth of heartbreak, ambition, joy, and the raw struggles that everyone faced. It slowly became clear that nurturing such exchanges was powerful healing. Participants often left with more than just astrological insights, they carried tangible tools to navigate their lives, inspired by the connections they forged with one another and with themselves. The first workshop, initially filled with nervous energy, blossomed into a heartfelt dialogue about how understanding the stars could illuminate their paths. Surrounded by kindred spirits, Sarah felt the thrill of collaboration eclipsing her fears. She had mastered the art of weaving her experiences with the teachings of the zodiac, skillfully guiding her friends toward recognizing their immense potential. Her confidence solidified further when Jamie, beaming with pride, encouraged her to share her transformation story at a local business fair. "You've got this, Sarah. You're really making a difference." His unwavering support elevated her sense of purpose. Standing at the corner of the school gymnasium surrounded by local vendors, Sarah felt the trembling anticipation of launching her endeavors into a broader audience. With each breath, she distanced herself from self-doubt. As the crowd swelled, a familiar connection sparked inside her. Memories of uncertainty melded with the fierce resolve of a woman who had uncovered her voice. With clarity strengthened by experience, Sarah shared her journey, the grappling with despair that led her to the thrill of discovery through astrology. She invited others to break down their walls, prompting them to dream big and normalize their vulnerabilities. The reactions were profound. Listeners were captivated, nodding in resonance, opening up about their own hidden dreams and fears. Sarah's authenticity channeled a wave of collective hopes that felt palpable. Recognition began to bloom around her, evidenced by enthusiastic applause and heartfelt conversations that lingered for hours after her speech. By the end of the day, she had transformed not only her life but the lives of those who had listened, a ripple effect of declaration echoing far beyond herself. In those moments, she knew she had not only conquered her fears, but she had also forged a path for others to do the same. In the weeks that followed, Sarah found herself in a pleasurable rhythm of creativity. Driven by the momentum from the fair, she began structuring additional workshops that now included guest speakers and resource sharing. Each initiative fortified her established position as a thoughtful leader within her community and highlighted her commitment to this newfound path. Requests for collaborative work came flooding in, igniting excitement in her heart. What had begun as a hesitant foray into astrology morphed into a thriving movement aimed at championing personal development. Sarah became a beacon for many, illuminating their paths while simultaneously stepping into her own light, a cycle of empowerment fueled by mutual support blossoming in her surroundings. Reflecting on her journey, Sarah recognized the monumental transition from doubting her worth to boldly claiming her space. No longer was she defined by her struggles as a single mother or a waitress. She was a catalyst for change, with the profound ability to understand and craft lives like constellations. Astrological lore fused seamlessly with her spirit and community experiences, reinforcing her learning. As she gazed out the window, the stars began to twinkle against the darkening sky, and a sense of peace enveloped her heart. It had always been there, the potential waiting to unfold like a cosmic drawing in the night. Sarah finally understood, she was not merely navigating her own stars, she was harnessing them to guide others along their personal trajectories toward fulfillment. With her aspirations defined and achievable, she sat at her desk and penned the words she had always yearned to express, her individual triumph etched into every line. This was an achievement stitched together by her resilience and revealed purpose. Sarah now stood tall, a recognized figure among her peers, grounded and confident in her life's direction. It was time to share this story. Time to multiply the impact she knew they could create together. The moon hung low in the sky, and as her new journey began to unfold, a warm smile graced her face. Transformation, she realized, could birth galaxies of hope. Star by star, fellow seekers, this is your moment to take action. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help spread these crucial messages. comment your reactions and theories about this transformative ending, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this uplifting conclusion. You need to support this journey because only those who understand the power of personal overcoming stories realize the impact of these actions. Don't wait even one more second.